Let me tell you a quiet truth most men never hear until it's too late. There's a silent game happening around you, right now. Not loud, not obvious, but powerful. It's not being played with words or confessions. It's a dance of glances, a rhythm of body shifts, a language written in breath and silence. And here's what most men miss. The signals you're waiting for, they're already here. They're just not coming in the language you expect. You think attraction announces itself with flirtation or compliments. But the truth? The real signals are buried deep in behavior. Subtle, quiet, often unconscious. Over the last 10 years, I've spent more time than I'd like to admit watching these patterns unfold. Not just in books, but in coffee shops, gyms, workspaces, moments between glances at the dinner table. And what I've learned is this: there are two signs, two subtle patterns, that show when a woman isn't just into you. She's deeply, obsessively drawn to you, sometimes against her better judgment. She won't say it. She may not even realize it herself. But her body will tell you if you know how to read it. And that's why we're here. Because there could be someone in your life right now, a colleague, a friend, someone you see every Thursday morning at the cafe, and she's sending you signals you're blind to. That ends today. No more walking past hidden opportunities. No more ignoring the language you were never taught to understand. Today, I'll give you what I wish I had earlier in life. The ability to walk into a room and know, without a word, who's already drawn to you. Because desire doesn't always speak, but it always leaks. In her breath, in her posture, in how she mirrors you without even knowing. Once you recognize these two signs, it'll feel like a veil lifting. Like you've stepped into a secret world you never knew existed. And suddenly, things will click. The cold shoulder. Not cold at all, just a test. That delayed text, a calculated pullback to measure your strength. The way she mentions someone else just as you lean in. Not rejection, it's a trigger to see what you'll do with it. This isn't about tricks, and it's not about chasing approval. This is about understanding. Reading signals written in biology, not behavior. Because attraction, at its core, isn't a choice. It's a survival instinct. And once you can read it, you stop chasing, you start choosing. Welcome to the Stoic spirit. We don't deal in games. We don't chase validation. We study the truth beneath behavior. And today, you're going to learn the first two codes of that truth. Before we begin, if this already resonates, subscribe to the channel. Because every week, we explore the real psychology of attraction, power, and calm, masculine presence. Drop a comment below with the word decode if you're ready to read what others can't even see. Because after this, you won't look at women the same way again. Now, let's begin with sign 1. Sign 1. The mirror in the silence. Sometimes, a woman doesn't say how she feels, but her body does. Not in grand gestures, not in dramatic scenes, but in the quiet way her rhythm begins to match yours. When a woman is deeply drawn to a man, something silent takes over. It's not planned, it's not conscious, it's primal. She starts to mirror you. At first, you won't notice. But once you do, it's unmistakable. She echoes your movements, your tone, your posture, your breathing, not because she's trying to impress you, but because her biology is reacting. And this is not just theory. In 2003, researchers from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology published a groundbreaking study. They called it social glue. The idea is simple. When we mimic each other unconsciously, gestures, expressions, vocal patterns, we build connection, trust, even desire. Their research found that mirroring creates an instant sense of closeness, and the more emotional pull there is, the faster and more accurate the mirroring becomes. So if a woman finds herself syncing with you, frame by frame, without even realizing it, that's not coincidence. That's her subconscious tuning into you. Now, let's make this real. Picture a quiet cafe. You're sitting across from her. The light is soft, the air still. You lean in slightly to speak. 3 seconds later, she does too. You rub your chin while thinking, and not long after, her fingers touch her cheek. You pause. She pauses. It's as if something invisible is dancing between you, mirroring breath for breath. Even blinking falls into rhythm. You blink. She follows. Not instantly, but in harmony. This isn't just poetic, it's biological resonance. And here's the deeper layer. The stronger her attraction, the shorter the delay between your gesture and hers. So how do you test this? Start simple. Spend the first 5 minutes just watching. Her natural posture, gestures, expressions, this is her baseline. Then, change something deliberately. Lean back, cross your arms, shift your body. Wait. Does she adjust her posture within a few seconds? Next, go even more subtle. Scratch your wrist, tilt your head, touch your watch. Does she mirror these small movements shortly after? If so, you're not just having a conversation, you're sharing a subconscious experience. But here's what most men don't realize. Mirroring works both ways. You can lead or follow. If you match her breathing pattern during a calm conversation, you create a non-verbal bond that bypasses her logical brain. It speaks to something deeper, something emotional, something instinctual. Think of it as tuning your presence to her frequency. When you do this right, you make her feel seen without saying a word. Now, one fascinating variation is delayed mirroring. Let's say she reflects your action, but 30 to 60 seconds later. That delay isn't rejection, it's resistance. It means her body feels the pull, but her mind is holding back, fighting what it's starting to feel. In that space of hesitation, her body betrays what her words won't say. And that's the beauty of it. Words can deceive. Intentions can be hidden. But the body whispers truths it cannot conceal. Mirroring is one of those whispers. It's how attraction leaks out through the cracks in logic. So what do? You don't call it out. You don't react. You simply observe. You stay calm, still, unshaken. Because the Stoic man doesn't chase validation. He reads what others miss. He listens with his eyes, and he understands that sometimes the body speaks the language the soul is afraid to say aloud. Sign 2, the silent jealousy test. Sometimes when a woman starts to truly feel something for you, she won't confess it in words. She'll test it. And you, not with logic, but with emotion. Not because she wants to hurt you, but because deep down, she needs to know what kind of man you really are. This test often arrives dressed as distance, indifference, or even discomfort. But beneath that surface is something powerful, desire that's unsure of safety. It's called the jealousy trap, and most men fail it. Let's walk through it slowly, because this one moves in silence. Phase 1, the subtle retreat. You're having a good time, talking, laughing, and then, out of nowhere, she says something like, "Oh, your friend Sarah seems cool. You two close?" Or maybe she sees you chatting with another woman. And suddenly, the mood shifts. She crosses her arms, takes a step back, shortens her answers. Most men at this moment panic. They assume she's pulling away, so they chase harder or try to fix things. But what's really happening is ancient. Her nervous system, millions of years of evolution, is scanning your reaction for emotional strength, not with words, but with space. It's not rejection, it's an invitation to prove you're steady. Phase 2, the probe. After the retreat comes the test. She'll say things that feel harmless on the surface, but are crafted to pierce beneath. You probably like girls like her, right? She seems more your type. These are not statements. They're questions in disguise. And your answer, verbal or non-verbal, tells her everything she needs to know. This is where most men fall apart. They get defensive, over-explain, try to clarify, but the Stoic response? Calm, minimal, unshaken. She's cool. Or maybe even, yeah, she's attractive. Not because you're trying to provoke jealousy, but because you have nothing to prove. And that silence, that unbothered space, screams value louder than any words ever could. Phase 3, the proximity play. Here's where it gets interesting. She starts standing closer to other men when you're nearby, mentions someone who asked her out, talks louder so you can hear her joke with another guy, and then she glances, quick, subtle, barely a second, but her eyes flick to you. What she's doing, without realizing it, is creating a scenario to gauge one thing. Will you break? Will you react with jealousy? Will you lose composure? Will you become possessive? If you do, she pulls back, because now you've shown insecurity. But if you stay still, If you watch with a soft smile and no tension in your body, you pass the test. That's when the shift happens. She returns, touches your arm, finds a reason to laugh near you again, re-engages physically because the test is complete. You didn't flinch. And that stillness, that quiet self-possession, triggers more dopamine and oxytocin in her brain than any compliment ever could. She felt it. You're solid. You're rare. Why this happens? You might wonder, why all this? Why not just say what she feels? Because feelings are delicate, and vulnerability is risk, especially in attraction. So instead, biology speaks, not through declarations, but through defense mechanisms built over millennia. Testing is safety, jealousy is pressure, but your reaction is everything. The man who can stay centered, who doesn't seek reassurance or react emotionally, proves his internal strength. And that's what she craves. Not the reaction, but the restraint. Everyday examples. You'll see this everywhere once your eyes adjust. The barista who mentions her boyfriend after you flirt. Not a shutdown, but a challenge. The co-worker who says, "You've been talking to her a lot lately," when she used to ignore your presence. These are not dead ends, they're detours, designed to see if you stay on course. The Stoic spirit response. You don't engage the game, you don't explain, you don't defend, you observe, you nod, you smile, because power doesn't shout. It breathes slowly and watches everything. The Stoic man understands, in these quiet moments, value is declared without noise. From chaste to chosen. This is how you move from chasing to being chased. By recognizing the test and refusing to take the bait. You show her something 95% of men can't. Calm under fire. Stability in the storm. And that's what makes you unforgettable. Not because you tried harder, but because you reacted less. And in that stillness, she found her answer. So now you understand what looked like distance was really a test. What felt like confusion was actually her curiosity asking, is he worth trusting with my heart? The rare man stays still. He doesn't chase. He simply allows her to see who he is when tested. And in that silence, she feels safe. She feels drawn. She feels something rare, respect for your presence. So tell me, have you mistaken a test for rejection before? Comment below with the word still if you're ready to stay grounded the next time this happens. And if this lesson spoke to you, tap like to let us know you're walking the Stoic path. Subscribe to the Stoic Spirit for more insights into masculine presence, emotional strength, and the psychology of attraction. And remember, sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Before we part, I want you to take a moment and reflect. What you've just learned isn't a trick, It's not a tactic, it's truth. The kind of truth that most men never get to hear. Not because it's hidden, but because no one ever taught them how to see it. Attraction isn't magic. It's pattern, it's biology, it's psychology shaped by centuries of evolution. Now you see it. You've taken a step 95% of men never take. You've learned to read between the lines, to notice what's unsaid, and that makes all the difference. So if this opened your eyes, share it with one man in your life who still thinks she's just not interested. Maybe it's your brother, maybe it's your closest friend, someone who deserves clarity more than comfort. And if this message grounded something in you, tap that like button to let us know you're walking the path. Subscribe for deeper insights into masculine presence and silent power. And remember, the strongest signals aren't shouted, they're whispered. In glances, pauses, and tests most will never recognize. But you will, because now you've started to see with Stoic eyes.